Hello, everybody. Good evening. You have tuned into another episode of Parlor Party Cartoon Screening Room with Janet Klein and Mr. Jerry Beck.
That's me, and I'm so happy to be here. I'm chiming in.
Well, I got the bells and the whistles and
Oh, good.
everything, so no glockenspiel. But you've got the spiel, I've got the Glock or
Well, a
something
Glock,
like
that's a gun, isn't it?
that.
You got the guns.
Whatever that
I'm doing this
is.
at gunpoint, folks. No.
Well, it's lovely to have you back. This is our second episode of this little configuration DIY online, and so we're going to be screening a few very wonderful, rare cartoons today, and having a little chit chat and a slideshow, show and tell. And so, without further ado,
All
Mr.
right.
Beck,
Yes.
it's great to have you here.
Well, thank you. It was fun last time, and we decided we should do it again to see what would happen. And there's so many cartoons, as you know. As to remind our audience, we used to do this for 13 years or more. I
Yes,
forgot. But we did it live at the
once
Steve
a
Allen
month.
Theater. The Steve Allen Theater. Is that building still there? I don't even
I've
know.
heard it's been flattened. It's
Has
been
it been
a
flattened?
condominium.
Do you know the last thing that was done in there? I think was that series called Barry. That's on HBO. Anyway, forget it. There's a TV series, and they
Oh
filmed
well, the good
inside it.
old days in Hollywood, California. Just yeah, the theater closed down just a couple of years ago, and so we are freewheeling, and of course, pandemic infused home style things
Yeah,
are going on,
we've
and
got
this
we
is one
both
of
got cabin fever, so we
those.
figured we'd give that to you instead of COVID. No,
Well, anyhow, here goes. So, and oh, yes, I'm going to do a couple of tunes.
I'm good.
So, how about we just start this thing off with a cartoon from 1933. This is called Marching Along.
Ooh, marching along. It's one of the Little King cartoons. I wanted to hold this up, and this is one of these boxes of the home movies that they used to sell from the old cartoons, and we'll have another close up of that. And the Little King was a cartoon series based on a famous comic strip by Otto Saglo, which is kind of a cult comic strip these days. It's all pantomime. The King Never Talks, but very popular back in the 30s. And RKO, which was the home of the Van Buren cartoons. I think we showed a Cubby Bear cartoon last time,
Yeah.
right? The crooning one, and they were sort of the rivals to the Fleischer Studio. In fact, they were across the street from the Max Fleischer Studio in Times Square, and so they got the rights to the Little King, and they made a whole series of cartoons, of which I do want to quickly hold up my friend Steve Stanchfield, who helped and transferred a lot of the cartoons to video for us on this show here. He put out the whole collection of Little King cartoons from the 30s on DVD. And
So can I ask you a question?
yes,
Because I wasn't familiar with this character, and so you say that he was a newspaper. He
yep.
was it was a newspaper cartoon strip,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the same. Soglo, Soglo was the artist.
I pronounce it Soglo, but I don't
So
know.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
That's an unusual name. Well, anyway, so he was doing this as a cartoon strip for the newspaper. I didn't realize that,
Oh yeah.
and so this is another occasion of let's put this cartoon strip into the movies.
It was a character owned by King Features, who owned all the really, really big popular comic strips in their day, and in fact owned Popeye. And in fact, when this series ended after about a year or so at RKO and Van Buren, the Little King actually appears in a Betty Boop cartoon called Betty Boop and the Little King. There is only one cartoon, and that's because Fleischer had a great arrangement with King Features because they were adapting Popeye, which was King Features, and that was to great success. So they allowed them to put the Little King and Henry. I don't know if you know Henry, a little bald-headed boy. That was another comic strip. But all these little other characters start popping up in Flagshire cartoons.
Wow. So, okay, and so the Little King would have been in a cartoon strip in a New York, big-time New York paper?
Yes, it would have been in a big-time New York paper. Don't ask me which paper that would be.
All right, but, well, how about if we just show this and we'll come back and then we'll chat about it some more? Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay.
We can do that.
All right, so marching along, 1933. Here it is, and we'll come back and we'll chat more right after. Ready? Here goes.
A kingdom, but just look at it today. Things are so neglected that they're starting to decay. Everything has crumbled, the royal market slumped, and things are in a terrible shape. The only booming business now is done by Uncle Jake. Everything so mournful, it's exactly like a wake. Things are in an awful, awful, awful shape. The Royal Furniture Company. $1 down and $1 a week, that's what you promised to pay. We're all choked up, we can hardly speak, we come to take it away. Too bad, too bad. Your Majesty, as I was saying, something must be done. The Royal Coat Maker. $1 down and $1 a week, that's what you promised to pay. I'm all choked up, I can hardly speak, I've come to take them away. Too bad, too bad. Your Majesty, as I was saying, something must be done. I appointment to His Majesty, Finkelstein and Kelly. $1 down and $1 a week, that's what you promised to pay. Oh, yo, 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 yo. They're all choked up, they can hardly speak, we've come to take them away. Too bad, too bad. Your Majesty, as I was saying, something must be done. You can't take it. Why, my good man, I have already given you money. For sure. That's okay, pard. Pencils for sale. Your Majesty, something must be done. Oh, you're a jackass. You're a bigger jackass. You're the biggest jackass in the world.
Gentlemen, remember, I'm here.
Your Majesty! spend all your sky. You're wasting your time away. I've heard about a brand new plan, they call it NRA.
What's that you say?
They call it NRA.
What's that you say?
NRA, NRA,
NRA, NRA, NRA, NRA. Hooray, 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 hooray! Extra point man! Extra point man!
Boy, such a business!
5, 10, 12, 10, 20, sold! Bologna! 50, sold! Beer! 70, 80, sold!
Boy, my goodness!
What's the matter?
I've got 1,000 shares of Castor Oil!
Walking along with a song, pretty soon with a tune loud and cheery, we'll come with a drum sounding strong and take our place in the race once more.
Look, you have forgotten the forgotten man.
The gun! Ready! Aim! Fire!
That was a good one.
Wow. Great.
That-
That
that's
is
a
a
great
wonderful cartoon.
Yes.
Steeped in the times, 1933, depth of depression.
Yes.
Ugh, wow. Rolled into a fun, dark cartoon. But of course, the big save the day moment in that cartoon is the NRA, which we like to make sure that everybody in contemporary audiences know that that is not the NRA that we know of today. It is the National Recovery Act
Yes.
that must have been of about 1932, 33. Roosevelt, put all of these programs in place to help stimulate the economy. So so at the end, everybody's rejoicing over these the NRA, and the wheels of industry are rolling again. And my favorite part, related today, so they had all these protesters and rioters at the end.
Right.
And so the leader comes out and he starts to bring out the guns and cannons. It's like, oh no, oh my gosh. And that the cannons release bologna and milk and beer.
Those are the things people needed in the Depression.
That's great. I mean, we should do that in protest. Just blast out a whole bunch of bologna and beer.
Well,
Instead of rubber bullets. And people can take it home. I mean,
I think there's a lot of blasting baloney going on right now, but I won't go there.
Anyway, so what would you like to tell us about this fantastic?
Oh, I'm just at the animator Jim Tyre, one of my favorite animators of all time, one of the greatest cartoonists that most people have never heard of. Was an animator and director and at Van Buren during this period. And he just crazy stuff. And that's all I'm going to say. Just remember the name, Jim Tyre, fantastic animator and I'm gonna
Wow.
leave that at that. I
Yeah.
love these cartoons from Van Buren.
Wow. For me, seeing the name Gene Rodimich doing the
Oh yeah.
music, he was already very well known. I guess probably back earlier in the 20s as being a recording band leader,
Mm-hmm.
pianist, and everything, and lots of hot 78 RPM records with his band.
You know, when sound came in, you know, they had to find people, good people to
Knew
do
what
the
they're doing.
music, and people who knew what they were doing. They had to learn how to synchronize these cartoons to the actions, and music played a major part in animated cartoons. Obviously, right from the beginning, people forget that. I know you know this, and most of our people listening know this, but when talkies came in shorts and in live action movies, there's no background music. It's all, it's dialogue and then nothing until the next line of dialogue, and then nothing, because that's the way real life is. We don't have soundtrack music playing in our real life, and that's what they didn't comprehend, putting a score on these films, except Disney did it right away with Steamboat Willie, and the cartoons did that. They had the musical score going all the way through, and it would drive the action. That's another reason the cartoons were like miraculous. That's why everybody wanted a cartoon. A cartoon was a absolute staple in every program of, in every theaters that would, change their bills 3 times a week. Most movie theaters, single screen theaters that would be crowded with people, because that's the media of its day. That's where people went and saw the news, and so
Right.
they needed 3 cartoons a week, each movie theater. No wonder every studio had to supply animation. It was a real amazing boom period that lasted for like 30 years.
It comes to mind that theater was a major entertainment and the whole vaudeville scene.
Yep.
And then and then silent films, of course. And even during the silent film period, you had live performers doing live acts and intro acts and floor shows and stage shows in between, or, as a prologue before the silent movie. And you had live orchestras, or you at least had a live accompanist there. So the show still had all these live elements. And then as soon as sound came in, they started to record a lot of those entertainers that were doing the live portions. And unfortunately, like an automation kind of a thing of the future, they kind of gave away. They did their act, it was filmed, and then they started to show just those little film shorts of the live acts before the films. And they were set up for sound for the feature film. And that was the wave of the future for all these live entertainers. And also just recently, TCM showed these film shorts of Charlie Chase and Thelma Todd and Zazu Pitts. And, so they were the comedy actors, who were crossing over from the silence, making kind of probably pretty cheaply made short subjects that were just kind of made as little quickie things to show in between the sound features. Absolutely. And I imagine they'd have newsreels, documentary newsreels, and it's like you're going to see the latest news of the day and cartoons.
Well, yeah, no, it's even bigger than that. I always think that the earliest sound movie programs of the late 20s, early 30s were really filmed. The program itself was like a filmed vaudeville show. In addition to the features were only an hour. But they've had like 3 hours of entertainment, which would include the comedy shorts, the travelogues, the newsreels, the cartoons, maybe a serial chapter. They would have these dish night things where they would have like these little contest films. Not to mention coming attraction trailers. It was on and on and on. Of all those shorts, we've seen so many of those musical shorts. It was a night at the movies was really something. And again, for a dime or something, or a quarter, to go to the movies.
So much entertainment.
People were trying to escape it was a real escape. You'd go to those movie palaces, even the single screen neighborhood theaters least the ones I remember from my youth growing up in New York, they were even beautiful. I mean, it might have been smaller than those big palaces, but they were cool unto themselves.
Yeah.
Nothing like what people going to the movies today. I'm constantly reminding my students, when you go to the movies, it is not the same experience as people who went to the movies in 1932.
And so when you look at these early cartoons, you know that they were really presented on the big screen.
Oh yeah.
And so a really big presentation for
That's
these
why it's important. That's why it's important that I work in film restoration with UCLA Archive and my group of CIFA Hollywood and other groups as well. And to see these things restored, I'm on the big screen, like they were brand new, like they were just released, is breathtaking, is the word I would use. They're just breathtaking. Suddenly the novelty of them hits you like, oh wow, this is delightful. And they were not aimed at children. Children could enjoy them, but the pre-code cartoons are just as naughty as the pre-code feature films. And they were aimed at the entire general audience of moviegoers. In fact, I'd even say they were aimed up towards the adults, so kids liked them anyway. So it's a lot of things to look at. And the more you know, I've said this probably last time, the more you know about pop culture, music of that era, and other things, just what was going on, the more you'll take out of these cartoons.
I wanted to interject there because this first cartoon, Marching Along, 1933, for me, it had a very strong relationship to the Gold Diggers of 1933, which was, another Depression era upbeat, frivolous thing until the final number, which is the finale was My Forgotten Man, Joan Blondell singing on a street corner, oh, she's got to work on the street now. Because her man is wiped out, and the doorway is a veteran who got a bum deal and has been forgotten by all. And so the Depression in 1929 is just still raging in 1932, 33. And so that cartoon, to me, had a very strong attachment to that film. And that film was inspired by the bonus march of 1932. And so I have a recording of a song that that I share on this show, the beginning and the end, because it's called That Bonus Done Gone Through. And what it's all about is that the veterans from World War I, they came home in 1917. Right. And by 29, 30, 31, the U.S. is in this terrible depression, and the veterans marched on Washington and camped out there. And they said, we were promised a veterans bonus, and we want it now. They were promised the bonus when they came home in 1917. They were going to get the bonus money in 1945. That was the promise. And they said, no, we want it now. And so it was really dark times. And so things like the Recovery Act, they finally got the bonus in 1933. They marched in 32. And so I think that's all part of this. Also, they referred to the WPA projects. Like they were holding these signs with their pick and shovels called reforestation. There was a lot of programs where they worked on trails in the national forests and built structures out of stone, and the boys clubs and everything. They would learn how to build things, and everybody had work. They started to farm out work for all kinds of people. So National Recovery Act, hey, we can relate to it now. So anyway, wow, loved it. Can we show another?
Yes, let's do that. What do we have next, though? What's our next cartoon? I know I gave you a pile of them.
The next one is called The Lumber Champ. Also,
The Lumber Champ.
1933, same year.
Well, this is, yes. You want
different animation folks and all of that.
Different animation folks. The Marching Along was done by Van Buren in New York City. this Lumberchamp is by the Walter Lantz studio in California. Walter Lantz had his arrangement with Universal Pictures, and mainly that studio did the Oswald the Lucky Rabbit cartoons. Those are the cartoons that were created by Walt Disney, and then Walt Disney lost the character and created Mickey Mouse. And meanwhile, Walter Lantz, who was an established animator in New York in the 20s, doing kind of a ripoff of Max Fleischer's Coco the Clown, where he would be in the cartoon with his characters, Dinky Doodle. He would be with animated characters.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, no, actually, you know what? You'll never remember, but I think we've run one or two at the Steve Allen Theater back in the day. But Dinky Doodle is pretty obscure, and if Tommy Stathis is out there, he puts them out on DVD. And so anyway, long story short, by the 30s, Lance is in California and doing these, and I guess they wanted to pepper the schedule with some other characters, so they came up with Pooch, who isn't really much of a stretch from Oswald or what they're doing with Oswald, and but they're a little. I like them. The Pooch ones seem a little more peppier for some reason, and
Peppier than Dinky Doodle.
Dinky Doodle had retired. Dinky Doodle was on relief or something during the 30s.
Well, I love those where they're like the Fleischer cartoons where they've got live action, in the office and out of the inkwell and all of that interaction.
Well, none of that is here. Let's make clear.
Yes.
None of that is here. But Pooch is always looking for another job in each one of his films. It's very much of the Depression era.
Wow. So, all right. Yes. Same year, 1933. Let's show it and we'll talk about it a little more after, right? Okay, Here goes the Lumberchamp.
Get to work. Boy, can I take it or can I take it?
No one else, no matter who, but you can do the things you do, the cute little way you do, the cute little things you do, do, do. Wa-de-da, weedle-doodle-doo. No one else can act so shy and roll a naughty, wicked eye. The cute little way you do, the cute little things you do, do, do. Wa-da-da-dee-da-da-da-dee-da-da.
Out of sight is out of mind unless you're in love.
But with him, it's other things that he's thinking of.
No one else without a past could act so dumb and work so fast.
The cute little way you do, the cute little things you do, do, do. Watch.
A nice baby. I must get her. I wonder if she will kiss me.
Oh, shut up.
Aha! It looks like dirty work at the crossroads. You contemptible cad!
They got me, pal. They got me.
I'll give you a kiss or two because I'm in love with you, you, you.
I love that. Lumber Champ with Pooch the pup.
That's right. It's a Universal cartoon. Uh,
Right. Carl
you know,
Lemley, thank you.
it's Carl Lemley. Let's thank him.
Now, you figure in 1933, Carl Lemley was doing a lot of, the Universal was known for these great horror movies.
That's
Phantom of the
true.
Opera.
Yeah, and Dracula and Frankenstein and The Bride of Frankenstein was around this
Ah, so
time.
good. The Black Cat.
Yeah,
Did them
yeah.
all. And so for him to do these little fun animated
Well,
things.
the animated cartoons, like I said, were staples that everybody demanded it. Although this doesn't show us, but a lot of the Oswalds and even a Pooch. There's a Pooch that's a parody of King Kong, and there's a couple of them that are parodies of the Mystery of the Wax Museum, and they put
Oh.
Frankenstein and Dracula whenever they
Oh.
can in these in
There you
some
go.
of these. So you know, they were Lance was very hip in his studio to whatever the trend was of that time.
Mhm.
He's the one who later on in the early 40s, although he kind of started a little earlier than that, he started doing swing music in his cartoons, and he had a series called Swing Symphonies in the 40s, and they're very, very hip. He got you know, Jack Teagarden and different, you know, name musicians to do the music in these cartoons.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it was trying to always stay on top. That's one of the other things that that Disney wasn't doing. A lot of the guys who did shorts back then tried to do things that Disney wasn't doing. You know, what wasn't Disney doing? And being hip
Mhm.
with modern music was one of those things. Now, you noticed something. You know some of the songs that were used in this cartoon.
Yes, there was throughout. There's a very distinctive instrumental,
Mm-hmm.
and so for instance, I recognize it's called Nola, and I think it's 1915. 1915. It's a nice ragtime, oftentimes a piano piece, and it's the thing that goes. Yeah, and it runs throughout the film, and of course the feature little duet, the love duet called "The Cute Little Things You Do." I looked it up. I ordered the sheet music. I'm gonna learn it. It's a really delightful song. I just love it. It was it came from let's see, the film was 1933, and I believe it came from a Fox picture. So it wasn't a Universal picture. It came from a Fox picture called Young as You Feel with Will Rogers and Fifi Dorsey. And so I found that out from the sheet music. And that was recorded, the film was from 1931. So a little bit of,
So you're gonna learn this song and you're gonna sing it for us in a future.
I'm going to do it for you today.
Oh, you're gonna do it today?
Why not? And also, yes, I found a recording of it with a group called the Hi Hatters, which was actually the Victor Recording Orchestra with Leonard Joy or something. He had his name on the record. But there was references to the Marx Brothers in there. There's references to Tarzan, and the Tarzan movie had come out just the year before with Johnny Weissmuller, the athlete, and Maureen O'Sullivan.
Mm-hmm.
And there was also a reference in the villain. He was a French villain, you noticed. Maybe French Canadian. Maybe they were up there doing lumber.
Yes,
lumberjacks in Canada.
that was the stereotype, because the lumber was all up north, the northwest.
So, but also Maurice Chevalier was very big around that time. So I thought he was like, oh, will you kiss me? and so I'm also gonna do a song for you that Maurice Chevalier was recording at the time. Also, Marion Harris recorded it at the time. It was called "Nobody's Using It Now." And so anyway, a couple things came to mind when I saw this great cartoon. I just loved it. It's so delightful. Well, so tell us anything else we should know about this cartoon and these cartoons that were being made at Universal.
Well, just the fact that I didn't know that song was from a Fox film, but now that you mention it, I think that they did that at Universal more than they did at other studios. They would license from other studios. Places like Paramount and particularly Warner Brothers kind of ordered the animation studio to put songs that they own the rights to into the cartoons, because it would help plug the film, plug the song, sell sheet music or records, I guess.
Right.
Universal was, they were at that time, one of the lower rung studios. People forget that.
Oh.
Columbia and Universal back then were like B movie studios. They were making B westerns and serials, and that was where their bread and butter came from. They emerged. Anyway, I'm going off on that tangent, but
because I was wondering, I can't remember which film company the Marx Brothers were.
That was Paramount at that time. Paramount.
It's so interesting that they would make references to those other companies' products, even though, like you said, they worked in some animation with the horror movie characters that were. I don't know. I just think in the early 30s things were a lot looser for everybody, and if somebody was a big celebrity and everybody knew it, that was just a feather in their cap to have a reference to that in one of their films. And the celebrities didn't mind. It was, with some exceptions, most of them were flattered to be caricatured in cartoons back in those days. I'm now assuming that Mae West was very flattered. She seems to be in every studio's films. So popular.
Yes.
I love that. Well, may I take a little moment to run behind the curtain, and I'm gonna do a little something. I'm inspired musically by these cartoons. And did you want to say anything about James Dietrich, who did the music for that?
No, I don't have much to say about him.
Oh, all right.
He was their musical director that they needed. They needed that, kind of a person to.
For instance, this Cute Little Things You Do song was a pop song. So there was sheet music from the movie.
Right.
He didn't write that. It was James.
Most of the musicians that are, and some of them famous, Carl Stalling and, at the other studios, including Dietrich, their whole thing was writing music quickly. It was all about being able to quickly score, because especially at Universal, they're under budget constraints, time constraints, got to get this stuff out. So in order to, if they can pull a pop tune, that makes their life halfway easier. Then they still have to write bridging music, and these guys have to be almost geniuses to do this stuff.
Shoo. All right. Well, I'm gonna do something for you and come back, and then how about we'll have our little slide show and tell.
Oh, okay.
When I come back. Okay, ready? All right.
I'm ready.
Here goes. Wait for me one moment. Just look at me, I think my heart will break. Nobody seems to take me seriously. Honestly, I'm just as lonely as a gal can be. The days mean nothing at all, and when the shadows fall, the moon is only wasting time on me. Candidly, there must be something awful wrong with me. I've a pair of arms to hug and hold, but nobody's using them now. I've loads of love that could be told, but nobody's using it now. I've a world of time that's all my own. They say that you go silly if you spend it alone. I'm telling the truth, I'm just wasting my youth, 'cause nobody's using it now. No, 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 nobody's using it now. Nobody's using it now. I've loads of love that could be sold, but nobody nobody's using it now. I've a world of charms that's all my own. They say that you go silly if you spend it alone. I blush to admit I've got plenty of it, but nobody's using it now. No, 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 nobody's using it now. And here's another one, as heard in the Lumberchamp from 1933. This tune originally recorded in 1931, written by James P. Hanley. Ever since I met you, I've tried to forget you. I've failed, I must confess it. So to speak, you're quite unique and how. Though you're not exclusive, your charm is elusive. At loving, you're a wow. I doubted first, but I'll admit it now. No one else, no matter who, but you can do the things you do, the cute little way you do, the cute little things you do, No one else could act so shy and roll a naughty, wicked eye, the cute little way you do, cute little things you do, Out of sight is out of mind with others I've met. Still I find that you're the kind I'll never forget. No one else without a past could look so slow and work so fast. The cute little way you do, cute little things you do, You are oh so charming, your charm is alarming. You've got that certain something, made Columbus sail across the foam. You've got all the fine points, at least 8 or 9 points. No wonder I don't roam. Oh baby, wrap me up and take me home. No one else, no matter who, but you can do the things you do, the cute little way you do, cute little things you do, No one else could act so shy and roll a naughty, wicked eye, the cute little way you do, cute little things you do, Out of sight is out of mind with others I've met. Still I find that you're the kind I'll never forget. No one else without a past could look so slow and work so fast. The cute little way you do, cute little things you do, Thank you, thank you.
That was great. I represent everybody watching. And
Yes, well, this is part of the DIY home show because I can't play with my band members, so I can play with my friends via Zoom or my ukulele. That's it.
Oh well, it's fine as that is. It's fine.
Well, anyhow, I'm so glad that we've come up with new ways to have fun.
Yes.
So
indeed.
let me, I'm going to start a little slideshow and tell of some related yum yum goodies that you have brought for us today. So all those ha 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 ho ho's. Oh, so that was
Well,
the frog. I guess he was a froggy, was a Van Buren character.
Well, that was no. Actually, he's the one who isn't Van Buren on that.
Flip the frog on there. Oh, he wasn't.
The frog. That's of Iwerks. The guys on the right are the Van Buren stars, Little King and Cubby Bear, and I guess that's Tom and Jerry. That's the human Tom and Jerry that Van Buren did years before the Cat and Mouse.
How about that? And then who's up in the upper? The giraffe, like fellow with the cap?
That's a miscellaneous giraffe.
Oh. And then isn't that Flip the Frog on
That's
the
Flip
left?
the Frog. Apparently, the home movie distributor,
Oh.
Official Films, had the rights to those as well.
Oh, there you go. Adorable.
I'm sure that if we do this again in the future, we will show cartoons with Tom and Jerry and Flip the Frog in future episodes.
Lovely. I love the graphics, the printing. Look at that. 2 colors only and such great graphics. Just Okay, so the next slide. Uh-oh. Here we go. Woo.
Well, there we go. That's an example of a 1939 Philadelphia Inquirer Otto Saglo King Features. Yeah, I'm looking at it all over. This is just an example of it's in black and white. It should be in color, but this was a Sunday Little King strip, and it's all usually in pantomime, so you follow it. I'm sure everybody's doing that while I'm talking. And it's a cute little cartoon with the king wants to help a lady cross the street in the rain, and he has to order in a couple more of his robes.
That's great. That looks like kind of a sophisticated New Yorker cartoon.
Yeah, well, the comics were better then too. Everything was better back then.
Yes. Oh, so
now
fun.
When they RKO released these Van Buren cartoons, everybody knew the comic strips, so they actually made the 1-sheet poster of which this is, and he's just the king. Maybe they didn't have the name the Little King at that point, just the king, and they play up the fact that he's a comic strip character by having the 4 panels and a little comic strip about him going to the movies to see himself, and then he shakes hands with himself in the box, and the cartoonists who did the comic strips back in those days were way more famous than I think cartoonists are today who do comic strips, and they were well known. Their names were very well known. They were very well paid. If you were a comic strip artist, that was like the highest of the high jobs you could get in cartooning.
Wow.
And it's a new idea, an animated cartoon.
And so interesting. So Glow, everybody knew he was the artist who did the newspaper character, and they actually utilized him for the animation. Did he?
Only to publicize it, because his name is so famous. You can see here, this is the catalog of Official Films, and they saw Glow's Little King, and there's a Christmas cartoon, and then on the other side of the page is Flip the Frog, also being advertised.
That's great.
I remember when there used to be catalogs like this, and we get a big thrill because this was the years before DVD and television, and getting an old home movie to be able to take a movie home and watch it. Wow.
So this was a retail little booklet so that you could go to the department store.
You probably get this booklet at the department store or a camera store, and where they would also sell those little films, and they'd sell you the projector too to show them at home.
That's great. It's really fun. Here's now
that's Walter Lantz and an early version of Pooch the Pup.
He is the same fella. He's the
same fellow. They just changed his design occasionally. They would do that.
It looks a little more scrappy here.
A little more dog-like. What they would do in the cartoon, I think the one we ran. Look, let's go to the next image.
Yes, exactly.
The next image.
There,
that looks like right. They made him look more, dare I say, Mickey Mouse-ish.
Yes.
With the eye-cut eyes.
Right.
And that's every studio. People demanded Mickey Mouse, and Mickey Mouse's name became synonymous with cartoon in general. So,
see, I just looking at, so he had the pie eyes, but he looked a little more
dog-like,
wiry, scrappy. Right now, he's very polished out. Even if he does have a knapsack. Right,
he's more Pooch. Now go to the next slide. You can see, I think one of the earlier. This is a from an old newspaper, but it's one of the. I guess this is a 1-sheet. I've never seen the actual 1-sheet of this. I'd love to see it, but this is obviously a version of it. Pooch the Pup, and where he looks more like a dog wearing a suit. But
yes, right. I know. I was curious whether that was a suspender or a tie. Now it's starting to look like a tie. Before it was more of a suspender.
Well, they made him more the common out-of-work man who's got the hobo stick. He's too successful in this particular one. They had Walter tone him down. Come on, we want people to relate to this guy. Our customers don't have a job.
Well, now you showed me this. Now this is not Pooch the Pup, but I had to share this because this is so good.
Yes, and I have no idea what this image is whatsoever, but it reminds me of you.
Love this.
This is the
Thank
kind of picture you got to take a picture like this next time you give these out as your publicity photos.
Yeah, you bet. Well, that was the inspiration for the CD that I did called "It's the Girl," because I had just done a little cartoon voiceover that year, and I was really just steeped in it all, and I wanted to superimpose myself like the early Disney Little Alice cartoon,
Right.
or the Fleischer cartoons with the live action interacting with the animation, and I just wanted to do that, so I kind of did that in the art for the
What
for that.
what is the what instrument are they actually holding here?
That's those, what? Those are banjoleles, or she's got kind of a large banjo. It's a 4-string banjo, or it might be a mando banjo, because it's quite a large head on there, but it is 4-string.
Uh-huh. And you don't happen to have handy your Janet Klein official?
Oh, I might get it.
Okay.
I'll get it, and I'll bring
After the
I'll
next
go and tell
after the
that.
next cartoon, right?
Oh.
Right.
Yes, because that's right. I designed a banjolele. They've gone out of style, but it's time for their return.
Yeah. I mean, I hardly ever see pictures of people with one, and then to see one with a cartoon character.
Exactly. So great. Who wouldn't love that? Now, this does not relate, except, oh, you are right. This is educational pictures, except that you sent it to me.
I sent it to you because it reminds me of
myself.
you. Yeah.
Oh, it's so great. I love
You're always singing those songs about Papa, and right? Those.
So great. I mean, the thing is that this was the milieu of the time.
Right.
For the looks of the movies, and this all, these kind of floor show things, it all just seeps into the film, into the animation of the time. So if you love the animation from this period, you got to cross over and see some of these movies. They're just too delightful.
Absolutely.
Now, for instance, if you back in the day, this fantastic photograph today,
yeah.
this just shows you the whole. You could get A Night of Terror and Crazy Cat. Nick Lucas was a very, very famous musical performer. At the time, he did the original version of Tiptoe Through the Tulips that Tiny Tim was emulating. He was one of the early crooners, and he was like a troubadour. He played guitar and sang in a very intimate fashion. And what else do we have there? We have
it's interesting. It says the Universal News. Every studio, like cartoons, every studio had a newsreel thing. All of them, MGM, Paramount. And it says Universal. Meanwhile, the Crazy Cat cartoon is called Bunnies in Bonnets, and that's a Columbia cartoon. I didn't look up what studios did these films, but it's there's always this stereotype about block booking, about how it's Columbia features with a Columbia cartoon and a Columbia newsreel. It was only like that in the biggest Broadway downtown theaters, that those theaters would be all of one studio. But when the neighborhood studios, now I don't know what this exactly is, to be honest, where this looks like this could be a 42nd Street in Manhattan or something. It has that look to it, that ballyhoo that they have here. Look at that. Main floor is 25 cents, 15 cents. I mean, this is early 30s. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
And, look at that box office. Even that box office, that like little prison she's in the middle. I know,
but ornate.
It's so ornate. I know. It's
so
like you just want to go there. You just want to go there and give her 15 cents. I mean,
she looks like she could tell your fortune. This
exactly.
Is great. I just love seeing.
Well, now just to go with it, the cartoon is called Bunnies and Bonnets. We're not going to show that one, but if you go to the next slide.
Okay.
Oh, not that one. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, it's okay.
Oops. Now is this out of place? Oh, this was a Crazy Cat looking also.
Oh, crazy. That's Crazy Cat. This is crazy. We're going to show a Crazy Cat cartoon, and these were done by Columbia. If you're a TV buff, you might know the name Screen Gems from the 1960s and 50s TV shows like Bewitched and things like that. But Screen Gems was the original name of the cartoon studio in the 30s. There you can see the copyright notice.
Interesting.
And this is the title card. Now, Crazy Cat, as you may or may not know, was a very famous comic strip by George Herriman that was from the I think I can't remember when it started. The teens, certainly in the
Yes.
teens, and when animation began in the teens, one of the first comic strips adapted to animation was Crazy Cat at the Hearst International Studio, one of the first, if not the first, animation studio ever. And the Crazy Cat cartoons were just, in production since the teens into the 1940s. The weird thing is that the character kind of morphs on screen. They kind of, after about
Right.
8 years of doing him the way he looks in the comic strip, they in the mid-20s he suddenly is a lot like Felix the Cat, because Felix the Cat was the most popular character of the time.
Right. He
And
really
then
looks a lot like something between Mickey Mouse and Crazy Cat.
well,
I
in
mean,
the
Felix.
1930s, in the 1930s, the Mickey was so big that they just morphed the character into being a Mickey Mouse-like character, and they kind of completely forgot about Ignatz and
Wow.
Officer Pup, and in fact they forgot that Crazy Cat was a girl, and he's got a girlfriend, or she's got a girlfriend. Maybe the character was way ahead of her time, I suppose.
Well, I mean, he does still have a little bow on.
That's true.
All right. Well, now here's another one.
Well, that's the point. Yeah, that was Bunnies and Bonnets, the actual poster for the one that's being shown in that theater we saw before.
Great.
And these posters are very, very rare. They actually made original one sheets for every cartoon that came out, especially in the early 30s, in the 20s and early 30s, and laughs from start to finish.
Oh, that's great. I love this high-hatting giraffe. That's terrific.
Yeah.
High top hat. Wow, they're all duded out with spats and the whole business. Night out on Bunnies and Bonnets.
And they sold these. Also, Official Films was the leading home movie distributor back in the 30s and 40s, and the Crazy Cat cartoons were the ones that were made for theaters. Looks very much like a cat here. Now, did you want to talk about what we're going to show with Crazy Cat?
Well, let's segue into showing the next one, because of course the one that we're going to show is special because it actually is, I think you said maybe the only one that they did that really portrays Crazy Cat as you would have seen him in the paper, in the newspaper,
Yes.
the newspaper.
Yes, well, by the 1930s in the sound era, the character looks like what we're looking at right here. But the studio decided, since they had the rights to the character, they had to negotiate, have the rights from King Features, who the owner of Crazy Cat. So they figured, what the heck, let's do one that actually looks like the comic strip that everybody knows. They've gotten so far away from it. So they made it a special. I sort of suspect, now this is just me, I'm just making this up, it's the first time I've ever said this, but I sort of suspect that this particular cartoon that we're going to look at might have been thought of to be done in color. They had a series at Columbia called Color Rhapsodies, and they had no problem having their other black and white star, a character named Scrappy. Remember we showed the Flophouse last time, and they had Scrappy in some of the Color Rhapsody cartoons as well. So I'm thinking maybe they wanted to do a special with Crazy Cat in color, and it's an adaptation of the comics, but somehow they just ended up not doing that. It went to the regular black and white series they were doing. It's got it's really good for what it is. It's not really the comic strip, really, but it's a pretty good cartoon for the 30s and for the characters. So
Actually, it's definitely, Crazy Cat is one of my personal favorites, and in a way, it's like the storyline it's very simple. It's like the most simple that I could imagine, because but the richness of it is the incredible landscape, which I guess George Harriman had a vacation home and spent a lot of time in a real place, I think, called Coconino, Arizona, that looked like Monument Valley, with these incredible, hands of God kind of mesas and formations, and he drew that so beautifully, and it just like giant rolling tumbleweeds, and the language was absolutely delicious, all of these neat dialects, that he incorporated, and it was so poetic, and so really not an easy thing to get at in a moving cartoon, but oh, it was a beautiful strip, and so anyway,
Well, let's take a look
let's just
at Little Angel.
yeah, Little Angel from 1936.
I am all the law and order. I'm the jailer. I'm the warder of the county known as Coconino.
Nino!
There's one rascal circumvents me. Ignorant spouse who still torments me.
Don't be crazy, cat up on the Vino!
Vino.
Hello!
Hello. Ah. Ignorant spouse is safe to say you will not cause of lick today.
Or any other day in Coconino!
Nino.
Oh, crazy cat, little angel. Love that. So yeah, the story was always, in the paper that Ignat's mouse is always just is throwing bricks at Crazy Cat, and Crazy Cat is madly in love with Ignat's mouse and doesn't seem to mind it really that Ignat's is just like that. And Officer Pup is always trying to protect Crazy, and he's always trying to put Ignat's in jail. And that's about all of it happens in those
But
things.
that sums up every relationship I've ever had.
So cute. I had a question for you. Officer Pup, his voice sounded a lot like Popeye to me.
Well, it wasn't, that's for sure, because Popeye was made in New York, and Jack Mercer was the voice, and this was made in California, and so it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same actor for sure.
Interesting. I thought it sounded similar.
That's no, I don't know. Popeye was really unrelated to this, because Popeye was the biggest character in 1936 at popularity polls, bigger than Mickey Mouse. Very, very popular as a cartoon star, and I don't think they would have been foolish enough to imitate that at that time. It would have been too obvious. But anyway.
Just a little.
All right, a little.
That's what I heard.
A little like Popeye.
And of course, we have Mrs. Quack Quack. That was she was funny. And so anyway, what I wanted to ask you about was the idea of these early strips being made into cartoons, that these characters were very big time in the newspapers. So, for instance, I wanted to touch on Winsor McCay, who was an artist of Little Nemo, and that would have been in the not in Hearst papers, but in a.
I think he was in Hearst papers.
Was he in Hearst papers?
Yeah.
So okay, so tell us about the Winsor McCay and his segue from vaudeville into animation. I mean, how did that?
Well, segue might not be the right word. He was a cartoonist, and he was always in the papers doing Little Nemo or Dreams of a Rarebit Fiend or editorial cartoons and things like that. What a career. But he was also really fast. To draw as well as he did, as fast as you could. It was a miracle, actually. And he made some more money. He was already famous, but he made some more money appearing in vaudeville, doing what they call a chalk talk, which is, the artist comes out with a big easel and says funny banter while drawing his famous characters and drawing them. I still remember when I was in high school and some of the good artists were going to a comic book convention and watching a professional cartoonist draw the characters I know really, really fast. I still remember seeing a Charles Schultz on like the Mike Douglas show or something doing Charlie Brown. Like it just came out of his hand, he just did it in seconds. And I'm like, wow. And that's what chalk talk must have been like for people back then. And a lot of cartoonists did it. What happened was McCay would come out and draw Little Nemo. And I think he got the bright idea with film. As film, the early Edison films, the Sneeze or whatever, they were ended up being exhibited as part of a vaudeville act, meaning a little addendum to the vaudeville program. And so the vaudeville houses had a projector set up. So McCay got the idea of, what if I draw the character and then step back and it moves? What if that happened? And that's where the original Little Nemo film comes from. And then he did the same thing with Gertie the Dinosaur. I believe, I may have this wrong, but I believe that his animation is so great in the Little Nemo film. It's like lifelike. He's doing human characters. There's a dragon in it that's not a real thing. It's a fantasy thing, but it was so lifelike that I think people came.
The way that they moved in space.
Right, well, the
almost
perspective.
Like 3D animation.
And he did this perspective, and he was trying to prove to people in that first film that, hey, this is a drawing moving, and he did that by having the characters do this like funhouse mirror thing. But the thing is, people thought, well, it's a trick. There's some kind of funhouse mirror. He traced things. We don't know what he did. We don't know how he did it. It can't be real. So with that criticism in mind, he did his next film about something that doesn't exist in the real world, a dinosaur. And nobody could accuse him of copying it or whatever.
Right.
So not only that, it was beyond just drawing it. He would also interact with it. You know, he would give it commands and it would do what he says. And then he'd walk behind the screen and be picked up by Gertie and, you know, and you know, take Gertie off into the distance. It was an amazing thing. He got so much attention. He was already well known as the cartoonist from the Herald, you know, in New York and other papers. It was syndicated around the country. And I believe that William Randolph Hearst didn't like all the attention that McKay was getting for himself. And he wanted his other newspaper cartoons to get this sort of attention in these vaudeville houses or in what these newfangled movie theaters. And that's what led Mr. Hearst to opening the first animation studio where they had that, because nobody was going to do what McKay did. McKay was the personification or the original independent animator. He did everything on his own for the most part. Maybe he had an assistant for this or that, but mainly he did the animation. He did everything himself. He even figured out how to do it and shoot it. The Hearst opened up a studio that meant one person would work on scenario, one person would work on animating, one person would work on maybe blackening in a character, one person would do the photography, and they'd pump them out on a regular basis. And thus the animation is quite limited, not unlike what McKay did. But it served its purpose to shine a light on the comic strips that Hearst owned. Mm-hmm. And maybe people would pick up the paper because the Katzenjammer kids, they saw them in a theater, you know, and Crazy Cat as well.
So there were Katzenjammer kids animation? Ooh,
yes, there is. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the other ones that aren't well known today, you know, Jerry on the Job. I'm bringing up Father with Maggie and Jigs. Mm-hmm. That was one of the earliest.
Wow. Oh, that's a whole other episode. We're going to do it.
All right.
Well, this is a blast. I just want to shout out to our viewers who have come to share in the fun today. And thank you, Jerry, so much for coming here today and spending time and all of your know-how and treasures from your trove. Mm-hmm. So may I just do one more little ditty for you?
Please.
And then we'll call it a parlor party.
Okay.
All right, one more for the road. This one is from 1927 by Harry Woods, and it just seems for me it's a song that a lot of people know, but they rarely, if ever, hear the original verse to the song. And a lot of people think of it as a kind of one of those corny old songs. It's called Side by Side. But actually it was such a just, well, it had a realism to it. So here it is. I'm going to do it for you. See that sun in the morning peeking over the hill. I'll bet you're sure it always has. I'm sure it always will. That's how I feel about someone. Somebody feels about me. We're sure we love each other, and that's the way it'll always be. Oh, we ain't got a barrel of money. Maybe we're ragged and funny, but we'll travel along, singing a song, side by side. Don't know what's coming tomorrow. Maybe it's trouble and sorrow, but we'll travel along, singing a song, side by side, through all kinds of weather. What if the sky should fall? As long as we're together, it doesn't matter at all. And when they've all had their quarrels and parted, we'll be the same as we started, just traveling along, singing a song, side by side, through all kinds of weather. What if the sky should fall? As long as we're together, it doesn't matter at all. And if he goes and gets a notion to jump and drown in the ocean, well, it's sink or it's swim. Oh, it's me and it's him, side by side. Yay! Thank you, everybody, for being with us today. I'm Janet Klein of Janet Klein and her Parlor Boys. Someday we'll all get back together again. And in the meantime, please come and visit us. Do the with virtual show kind of fun like this, a parlor party, or visit me on Bandcamp. Jerry has a wonderful website. I'll let him tell you about it.
Okay. Cartoonresearch.com. Please check it out. We talk about old cartoons all the time. We embed cool videos from real film. Yay. And you know, this is a blast. I mean, I love visiting with you, Janet, on this pandemic, but we'll be back together again soon.
Terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all right, we'll come back and we'll do another. We're going to try to do this at least once a month, right?
Well, if you and the audience would like to come back and do this, if you'd like to have
you want more? Yay!
I'm happy to do it. It's just I'm an audience-pleasing person. I like to please the audience. If they want some more, well, I will.
You got the stuff.
All
So
right.
anyway, what a pleasure. And this has been another episode of Parlor Party, Cartoon Screening Room. And what a pleasure to be here. Thank you so very much. And come back for more. Bye, Jerry.
Bye. Fun again. Saying goodbye.
Bye.
Have you heard the latest news? These veterans ain't got no more blues. They're all planning just what to do since that bonus done gone through. Now where's that man you used to rave about? Time now to see how he's made out. You better not let him slip through your hands, 'cause some other woman surely will take your man. Come on, girls, yes, ain't you going downtown? Yes, what you gonna buy? A new evening gown. Oh, a new pair of shoes. Oh, gonna truck away those blues, 'cause that bonus done gone through. Now when you step out on the street, all looking so nice and neat, everybody will stare at you so. And look here, folks, she's out the bear once more. I get all dolled down, men will come from miles around. Come on. got me a good veteran who has cured my blues. Come on, girls, yes. Ain't you going downtown? Yes. What you gonna buy? A new evening gown. Oh, listen to my talk. Just watch this May West walk, 'cause that bonus done gone through, 'cause that bonus done